Alright, here is another Fluke that I've added to my collection. This is the Fluke 25, and I've already got a 27 over here, which is, this one's a little newer, and it has the extra buttons here on the top. It's pretty much the same meter. So this one will be a little, I think this is a little older. This is the all yellow ones. I'll take it apart and look at the date codes on some of the chips. It's pretty dirty. I won this on an auction on eBay for $26, I think. It comes with some cool stuff. The original grungy leads. These aren't bad considering they're probably, what, 30 years old or so. But I got a couple of pairs of ProMaster leads that I will treat this meter, if it deserves it, if it works, it'll get a new set of leads. So definitely needs some cleanup. It's got one broken piece here on the tilt bail, which doesn't seem to affect how it works, so that's okay. Still pretty similar to the 27. I noticed this. I thought that was a little chip in the plastic, but that's actually a place that you could put a coin. You notice it's coin shaped to, once you take the screws out, if you want to pop that open to get the battery out or to change the fuses, that's where everything is. That's kind of neat. I think they eliminated that on the, no, it's still there. I didn't even notice it before on the 27, so interesting. So why don't we take these old crusty leads, plug them in and see if they work. Alright, let's see. That comes on. The numbers seem a bit faded. This, I may need to go in and clean the elastomeric conductor things that make the connection between the board and the screen. We'll look at that, but it does come on. So let's see. Well, it seems to be working. Let's make a measurement with it. This meter also came with the old original owner's manual, and pretty crusty old dirty pouch or container. I'll clean that up. And this old a letter here that is dated to 585. So that's probably about the date on this meter. But yeah, I've got it hooked up, so I get the glare off that screen. And it's hooked up to a DC power supply. And hopefully you can see that these guys are tracking pretty darn close. Within one least significant digit of each other. Well, I was off by 2 there. Off by 2 there. So maybe one of these is a little bit out of calibration. This one seems to be tracked pretty well to my old Fluke 75, but you can see at certain angles that this green is, some of the segments are fading out, so I think it's got some dirty connectors in there that I need to clean up. But you can also see that when you get these, if they work at all, they generally work well and are fairly accurate. I've already checked it on AC, and it tracks pretty well too with this meter. So I think I'll spend a little bit of time cleaning this up, maybe take it apart and do some internal inspection and cleaning. And I think this is going to be a good one. Even though it's a little bit of rough shape, but hey, something that's 40 years old, you expect it to be used and used well, because that's These were generally industrial meters that were used in some type of industrial environment, so they get beat up. But it looks like it works. Now here's a little trick to getting some old writing like that off there. See, it doesn't really come off with crud cutter or anything, but you get a little bit of acetone. You be careful with this because it does deteriorate the plastic a little bit, but you can see that it just erases that really quickly. And you clean it off real fast, and that gets rid of the old numbers if you want to get rid of them. So there we go. So there we go. Got this thing cleaned up pretty nicely on the outside anyway. I haven't opened it up yet, but I'll do that. But all over, it's looking pretty darn good. Pretty close to I cleaned up 27. And even got the carrying case kind of cleaned up a bit. I haven't taken that JP off yet, but I may do that, or I may leave it on there. I don't know. Previous owner, I'll leave his initials on. But I just did a combination of things, Goo Gone to get some of the sticky stuff off, acetone for those marks that were on the top and bottom. It said number 1, I think it said. Also be careful with that, remember, because it can deteriorate the plastic a little bit, so watch out for that. And then I just used crud cutter and a little bit of 4/0 steel wool to really dig into the areas that are really stained and get some of those stains out. Now this is slightly abrasive, so be careful with it, especially like on the glass or this part. I'll probably use scratch remover to take that off, but to clean that up. But the rest of it's looking really nice, and it seems to be functioning. Excellent. Alright, after pulling the 4 screws and the battery holder out, you can access these 2 screws down here and these 2 up here. And that's the 4 screws that hold the back on the meter. So in order to pull the internals out of the front case, you need to undo these 4 screws here, and then it should just pop right off. Let's see if that happens. And there we go. I popped the meter out. Everything's looking good there. And here's the old display board. This one's dated 1984. John Fluke Company, made in USA. Now this does take a little bit of wiggling on this front part after you take those screws out. This pops right off, but you have to wiggle this quite a bit to break this connector loose here. There's a little connector here that connects this board down to this board. So don't bend it up like this. Just kind of wiggle this back and forth until you break that connector. That probably hasn't been apart since this thing was made 40 years ago, so it took a little bit of effort. But it's off. I'll go ahead and pull the shroud off of it, and we'll take a look underneath and try to get the date codes and check the status of everything. Okay, with the shroud off, you do a quick flyover. Everything looks very good here. I don't see any components that are at least a bit damaged in any way. A lot of times you'll see these guys right here are knocked over if somebody dropped the meter real hard, but that isn't even the case on this one. And on the bottom side, if I can get close enough, you can see the date code on the Fluke chip is the 10th week of 1985. So this one's probably made sometime in 1985, I would think. So what I think I'm going to do is now try to pop this display board off, which I haven't done before, and get to those zebra strips and see if I can clean them up to improve the look of the display. Okay, that was 6 screws to get that off, and these 4 here go into metal connections. I gotta remember those are the machine threads, and the front 2 just going into plastic, so that'll be a different type of screw. So I'll try to keep that straight. And here is the display. I'll see if I can pop that off to get to the elastomeric strips. This should come right off. Yeah, I'll go ahead and clean that up a little bit too. So that's next. It's easy, let's just lift it straight off. Here is the display. Well, that's stuck down just a little bit. There we go. It pops right off. And there we can see the display chip underneath. And let me clean up this those zebra strips a little bit, and the contacts, and put this back together. Okay, I popped that apart and I cleaned both sides of those pink strips, and then reassembled it. So I'm going to put it back into the display here. I also cleaned up these contacts with alcohol. So let's put it together and see if it works. Okay, so alignment on this thing is, you get these little notches right here that go into those little notches of the display itself. And then when you put this back on, it just aligns with all the holes and screws, and that's what gets it aligned again, hopefully. Let me reattach the screws and reassemble this thing and see if the display works. Okay, well that looks good now. All the different angles. It's looking nice and dark. So let me put the back on it, see if it stays that way. Now it's back together, all cleaned up, and it seems to be working well and tracking with the Fluke 27, which tracks fairly well with my Fluke 87. So, once again, despite the age on these things, this one's 20 years old, this one's 40 years old, this one's about 10. They stay pretty close together. That's pretty amazing. And the display on this one now is nice and dark at all different viewing angles. I might eventually replace those elastomeric connectors, because they do lose their springiness over time and become problematic. This seems to be okay for now, but it might be nice to replace those. They don't last forever. So there we go. There's the quick teardown, cleanup, and screen servicing on my brand new, to me, 40-year-old Fluke 25 multimeter. Add this one to the collection, and then the only real problem I have is this tilt mechanism, having that broken piece of plastic missing. And you put it on a flat surface, it kind of rocks a little bit, which it shouldn't do. This one is rock solid, so I may look around for a new tilt bail for this one and replace that. But until then, this is going to be a very nice meter to sit on the bench and continue to be the companion to that one, and hopefully work for many years. So thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Oops, I thought I was done with this one. I just noticed at the end of the last video, if you drop this down on the screen, it loses some digits. So it looks like I do need to replace those elastomeric connectors. It's all old enough to replace these and these. But these definitely need it. There's some bad connections there. It seems like as I move the case around, it comes and goes. So maybe I'll take it apart and double check again, but still got a little bit more work to go. Okay, I got this thing fixed now. You can bang it around and the meter keeps reading properly. So the only problem was I didn't screw the screws down tight enough on the display board. They were a little loose and allowed the screen to move a little bit and not to make a good connection through those little rubber elastomeric connectors. But it's solid now, so there we go. So thanks again for watching to the very end of the video and getting this little bonus footage, and I'll see you in the next video.